And hung in with us for the long haul tonight. The final department that we have before us is our State Fair department. We have before us, actually you have an extra guest I don't have on my list, so Mr. Dozier, I will allow you to introduce all of your guests during your presentation. But we have Mr. Buck Dozier, the director of the State Fair. Before you begin your presentation, Mr. Dozier, are you satisfied with the budget that the mayor's proposed for your department?
It is going to be very difficult at this time to fulfill that, and I would like to qualify my answer in just a second after I introduce my staff there.
All right.
Is that all right, sir?
Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Councilman Pridemore, the chairman of the committee, I believe, that oversees us. We're grateful for his interest and time that he spends out there. I have Laura Faust, who's our budget analyst, to my right. I'm going to be losing her to OEM in a couple of days, and she has done an excellent job since she has been with us, and we're going to miss her. To my left is one of our board members, John Ray Clemens, who is with us this evening. Ned Horton, who is our board chair, was here just a few minutes ago, but because of the late hour and another commitment, he couldn't stay with us at this time. And Ken Sanders, who's assistant to me and actually part-time with Metro at this time. I mentioned just a few minutes ago that I'd like to qualify my answer to the question that the chairman asked. In qualifying this, I also have some good news, so I want to read to you what I think will be a question in terms of a subsidy, which is very fluid, I think, at this time. Originally, we asked for $791,000 in supplemental funds for 14. This included $91,000 for a marketing person, including all the benefits. Metro reduced internal service fees by $1,600 and insurance by $9,300. In 13, we originally budgeted to use $396,800 of our fund balance to help our budget to balance. As the year progressed, we found repair and maintenance tracking to run about $150,000 over budget and utilities to run about $125,000 over budget. When we revised our budget, we asked for our remaining fund balance, which was about $378,300. At the time of the request, we were expecting to have a repair, at least, of one of the bigger HVAC units at a total of $65,000. We were expecting to roll up garage doors at a cost of another $50,000, repairs to the roof and gutter areas of the cafe at a cost of $40,000. The remainder of the dollars we expected to go cover the increased costs of utilities and overtime. In addition to keeping the repair and maintenance expenses areas down in this second half of 13, we have been able to generate some new businesses as well. Technology Expo, for example, is going to bring us about $8,000 plus catering and parking. A Survival Expo, which we just signed, for $11,000 plus parking. Both of these events will be back again in 2014. Also, with the help of the administration, and I deeply appreciate their help, they were able to void the contract with Ovation sooner than it was intended to be, which we've had problems with Ovations in terms of the way they operated and the amount of money that actually came from their operation. We're delighted to have another food vendor, D&D, and actually what their percentage is much higher than what we were getting before. We also believe the quality of their food and services will enhance our bottom line at the fairgrounds. We are looking into adding such events as the 3K and 5K fun runs, which we never had out there, but have booked, each generating about $17,000 to $20,000 for the outside property use only. We are currently in talks with Good Sam for the spring of 14, with estimated revenues between $75,000 and $100,000 for that one event. None of these are included in the F14 because they did not exist at the time the budget was prepared. Since February, we have seen some leveling of our utilities It's been cooler, and we have been able to delay or avoid some costly repairs and maintenance items we had anticipated. That does not mean that could still happen. It just means at this moment we still have some fund balance for F14. Right now, it looks to be at least $150,000 going in to next year's budget. With that, it'll be used quickly. With that, we would like to be able to access to that fund balance to help balance out our budget, and we would like to adjust our requests for a supplement at this time from $791,000 to $400,000. If everything goes well, we can make that adjustment if we need to come back, and we do believe we will for a subsidy in next year. At that time, Mr. Chairman, hopefully that will give some thought. I know you have in front of you, and I know the hours are late, some of the things that have been happening there at the fairgrounds, which are pluses. We have a racing contract, which is going very well. Our relationship with the neighborhood groups is excellent, and even with the racing community. We have increase in corporate events, in attendance at our corporate events. Charging for parking has been an absolutely plus. We received $38,000 in parking fees for this weekend's flea market, which is one of our better flea markets of the year. We are waiting for findings of the master plan, of course, in the future. The RFI is out and is due. The board issued an RFI for those who might be interested in the use of the property. Those RFIs are due back on the 19th. And at that time, the board will look at those. The board did qualify that by saying that just because they're looking at all these doesn't mean necessarily they will act on any of them or recommend any of them. They put a qualifier in it because they ultimately, whatever happens out there, will have to have a majority vote of this council at this time. Mr. Chairman, that'll be my comments, and we'll certainly be able to take questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Dozier. Councilman Domine.
Here, Mr. Dozier, I had a quick question. Being as an enterprise fund, we spoke with the municipal auditorium operators, and they had some 4% funds to address some HVAC systems. Have you had 4% funds provided to the fairgrounds during your tenure?
No.
Have you requested those 4% funds?
But let me go back to, we did have a short map. Yeah. You remember the annex building, which the wind, we had a storm one day and took part of the annex building down. We did get 4% for that, but is for the major operation out there, no.
Is that annex planned to be replaced, or was that an insurance claim that was filed on that?
No, the reason that we did not get the money for that was because the uncertainty of what was going to happen out there. It was felt like that to spend the money to repair that and put it back like it was would not be prudent at that time.
Was it damaged while insured?
Yes.
Would the insurance have paid to replace that?
My understanding, it would have. Could have.
It seems inappropriate that we would have given up an insurance claim. Was there a payout from the insured to us for that loss? If so, where has that payment gone to?
Linnell.
Yeah.
Councilman, Metro is self-insured for most of its claims. We have a catastrophic policy like the flood event, but for building damage of a not routine level, but a fairly minor nature, we're self-insured, so we pay for it ourselves. And so for when damage occurs, so there's no policy to which you could get funds from.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify, because I just want to make sure that that's understood. The other thing, there's a revised financial statement for our notebooks. Can you please go over in a nutshell what those changes are?
Yes, I'll let Ms. Faust do that. She's been working with finance on that.
Thank you. Our revised financial statements show we had money that we are not certain at this time if we take our fund to bring it into balance, exactly where those funds will come from. So the majority of the dollars have been put all up in personal services. It is understood at this time that I will move those into the appropriate categories as I bring my budget into true-up line.
The changes on that sheet reflect those changes in where those funds are allocated, or, I mean, there's a number of changes. If you could just go over those briefly, what those are, because basically we're replacing a sheet in our budget book.
Mm-hmm. Let me find the right picture for you. The old sheet shows that we were taking $43,000 out of personal services, and we will still be taking that amount out of personal services. And then it shows we were taking utilities of $127,000, professional services of $112,900, and communications of $23,000, and repairs and maintenance of $116,000. On the first sheet, what some of the changes showed were that some of my expense numbers were actually going into a negative, as if they were getting a credit instead of expenses. So in order to correct that, what we decided to do through the Office of OMB is we decided to go ahead and take it all out of one area at this time, and then when I go in to true up the budget, I will investigate which lines can withstand the cuts all the way through.
And I'll allow the committee to have a further question. I appreciate that, Ms. Faust, and I appreciate your service to the fairgrounds and assisting through this interim. I wish you were staying.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Dominic. Councilman Claiborne.
Thank you. Buck, you have a comment on your handout to us here that without additional funds, events such as Christmas Village, the Lawn and Garden Show, and the monthly gun show would be jeopardized. So these are your three bigger shows during the year. Is that?
Well, Christmas Village certainly is, and Lawn and Garden certainly is. The gun show is a monthly thing, so we get 12 times, 12 months use out of them. So there are multiple uses there. Yes, the other two are two of the biggest.
So when you look at those, the two annuals and the 12 gun shows, look at all that together, what revenue do those three events produce for you?
We would have to, we can show you, she's got it.
Christmas Village produces for us, just in building rental alone, $41,000, and it produces another large chunk of over $30,000 to $50,000 a year in parking revenue. The Lawn and Garden Show produces $68,000 in building revenue alone, and it also produces another over $30,000 worth of parking revenue. The gun show is about $7,100 a month, so if you took that over 12 months, you're talking almost over $80,000, plus the parking revenue for that as well.
So is that, what, $10,000?
Usually
20?
the parking revenue for that is around $6,000 to $10,000 a month.
During the year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's, at $250,000.
Yeah, it's probably closer to 200, because we have other events that go on during, like the Lawn and Garden Show and the Gun Show. We have other events that go on during those. So some of the parking numbers might be slightly different, but you are looking at close to $200,000 to $225,000 in total.
Right. So does the adjustment that you mentioned with the projected increase in new events, does that impact the statement you've made here, or you still stand by that?
It does impact it positively at this time. It doesn't solve the problem, but it certainly impacts it on a positive way.
Okay. Well, I'm not a member of the committee, Mr. Chair, but if I might, in order to preserve the stability of these three major events that especially Christmas Village and the Lawn and Garden Show, I mean, that pulls from folks in all demographics across the county, and those are events that are kind of historic to this. And so I would suggest that we put on the wish list an amount of money that would be determined to at least preserve the stability of these shows here for this coming year.
Councilman, you could certainly put, any council person could put an item on the wish list, but you have to put a dollar amount for Mr. Cooper. He needs a
Okay,
specific
so
dollar amount.
I need some guidance here from this 200,000? Is that,
Yes. Let's do two.
I would say 200,000.
okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Councilman Scott Davis?
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilman Dozier, don't mean to take you back in time a little bit, but one of the concerns that some of us have is, in the future, I know nobody wants to come to the council and ask for a subsidy. I know you've worked hard, and a lot of people, your staff, and I appreciate your hard work in making the fairgrounds a success. Do you have a kind of, I know you've talked a little bit about your plan, but do you have any other plans to further increase revenue?
We work at it on a daily basis. I'm glad you asked the question because I'd like to address that in a very specific way. I believe that this particular piece of land out there is very valuable. And if it's going to be used, I missed it when I sat over here. I saw it as a fairgrounds. It's more than a fairgrounds, it's an expo center. It does much more than just operate a fair. And I do believe that there's much could be done out there with it. I believe the place could become a destination. And when I say a destination, that it has multiple, and I have all kinds of visions, and a lot of people in this room have heard me talk about the things that a modern expo center has in it. For you who came out to the fairgrounds, the council people who were able to come out and take the tour and know that I gave a sheet out of a list of things that we are able to do with the present facilities as they are. But also on that list was the things we could not do because of the aging facilities and the type of facilities that we use. The greatest thing about that place out there is location, location, location. It's beside two interstates and two major thoroughfares in Nashville. And with the great center, civic center, music center, city center that we just built, it seems like Nashville is coming that way out there. So we have not only plans for, if we're going to give our board, the staff is going to give our board a vision of how we think the property could be used properly. They have asked for an RFI from those in the community, but we also have some thoughts as well from our staff out there. Other than the financial part of it is that we work every day at bringing in new business. We are hampered by bringing that in. When the decision was to close a couple of times, 2 or 3 times, I think and got a reprieve. Each time we lost business, about $300,000 worth of business during that time. The contiguous counties smelled blood, and they came after us with cutting rates. They were offering tremendous rates to take the venues that the events that we had away from us. They were successful in some cases. They were building new buildings, and some contiguous counties are considering that today to build new buildings to take the type of events that we have out there away. And so there's a side to it that if we can, the more stable we are, and we've been able to relatively be stable in the last couple of years, we've been able to bring some business back that we lost. They still ask the question, how long are you going to be there? Some of them want a 5-year contract. And they still ask the question of the uncertainty of what's going to happen out there. We have been relatively stable in the last couple of years. The answer still hasn't come yet. What's going to happen out there? You have a master plan that's on your all's desk. There is RFIs that are going to be coming forth by people in the community who's got their ideas about how the property should be used. that and again, we believe staff-wise that the property can be used properly as well. As far as working the plan, that it hampers us sometimes because the black cloud tends to follow us around a little bit. However, there's ways that we can bring business in within the confines of aging a property within the confines of buildings that were built years ago for different reasons than what an expo center really has today. Raising rates is also one of the methods that we can use, and we have to be very careful with that, but we certainly had a study done on that, and so that would be part of the plan as well. A marketing person, my event coordinator cannot take care of all those events, and the people that he does a great job of taking care of them, but at the same time, he cannot go out and bring people in. So, yeah, we've got a lot of plans that we can do, but we need some help.
Okay. And if you've already done this and submitted to us, I apologize. However, though, is there a way that you and your staff, and this may be a little short notice, but I want you to be able to get your subsidy because the fairgrounds needs it. If you could submit a business plan, kind of outline what you're saying, and then putting the new numbers in there, it'll be a little bit easier for someone like myself to say, hey, to my colleagues, hey, I need you to support this. This is what A, B, and C. As a business owner myself, sometimes, I have to do that too when I'm asking for money from a bank. And, I know Mr. Ring is not Regions, but, I really want, and it just helps me too, to know what I'm asking for, and this is going to go here, and I know that we're going to do all we can to help you get what you need because we want it to be a success. Okay.
We'd be glad to do that, and we certainly we think about it every day, how to make it better out there, and we do have a plan. We'd be glad to present it to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Davis. I'm sorry, Councilor Berry.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councilman Dozier. It's nice to see you and your crew up here. I have a quick question because I want to make sure I've got the numbers right. So, first of all, let me commend you from taking down from $709 to $1,000, I think was your original request, and now that is a $400,000 request. When Councilmember Claiborne asked to put a $200,000 component onto the wish list, does that cover half of the $400,000 that you're asking for, or is he covering something else and it's a $600,000 number? I just want to make sure I'm.
Go ahead.
Given the quickness of my response to him in general of looking at those events that would be in jeopardy if we did not have any fund subsidy at this time. We do not have any, our original budget right now does not show any fund balance going into 2014. If we have the little bit of fund balance that we think we will have left of that $150,000, which is what I'm estimating right now, and that's saying that air conditioners and everything don't suddenly break next week, then we are hoping that the $400,000 would be the total that we would need to help us get through the majority of next year with the information that we have available at this date.
Okay.
And so the $200,000 would be part of that.
Against that $400,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure.
Well, thank you, because we were going to have to qualify. We had to explain that to you.
Well, I appreciate it. Just want to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Berry. Councilor Allen.
Thank you all for being here. I think this question may actually be for Rich. It would be helpful to me if I could see on one piece of paper sort of how many visitors y'all get a year and what money is spent at the fairgrounds as compared to, say, the farmer's market or the stadium or whatever. Do we have any kind of statistics that sort of put all those different funds together?
terms of usage and things of that nature, I don't have any of that. I would think that the entities would have better information for that.
For that one.
Yeah, and then it relates to the how much money is spent out there. That's, look at their budget and in the budget book, that's how much
Right.
money they're asking for, yeah.
So,
But I don't have any independent data in terms
Okay.
of all that, yeah.
Well, then I guess my question to you would be, can you sort of quantify how many visitors per year?
We do
y'all
not,
have?
unfortunately, we do not have gates that count. The racetrack has put those in for their racing events, so they have a more accurate account than any business model that we have out there. We have estimated, when I get out there, the estimate was $1.2 million. I cannot.
Per year?
Yes, $1.2 million per year. I cannot verify that one way or the other, but it's going to be a very high number. Last weekend, I would say at least 25 to 30,000 people on that weekend for the flea market.
Thank you.
Just one weekend.
Thank you, Council Lady Allen. Councilman Tenpenny.
Thank you, Chair. Buck, thank you for all you do down out there at the fairgrounds. I was asking, like, if I come in and wanted to have an event at the fairgrounds, and say my event, I need that space for 4 years. Could I have that 4-year space right now if I come in and present
We can
you
sign a
with what I
contract
need?
with you for 4 years. There's an out clause there that allows Metro or the event coordinator or the event manager to get out of that. So there's an out clause in those events if something happened that needed to be the closing or whatever happened special that we couldn't hold the event.
Okay.
We could sign it with you, but there's an out clause.
There is an out clause on
Yes.
that. Another question, and I look back at the fairgrounds property, and I think, looking at the number of people that come through there, I think it is estimated at about 1.2 million. That's more people that come into the municipal auditorium every year. That's more people that come into the Sommet Center Bridgestone. I believe there's a couple other places that the fairgrounds generate more people through there than a lot of these entities that we do give subsidies to on a yearly basis. I mean, Rich, I think right now, do we give the Titans like $1 million a year?
The agreement with the Titans calls for us to give them $1 million a year for stadium improvements. That's correct.
Sure. I think Bridgestone too. Don't we give them a little money too?
Well, they're paid to manage the building, and the building usually operates, most buildings operate at a loss, so there's the subsidy provided to the team and the management for that building. That's correct.
Okay. What about the Sommet Center, the new ballet, the symphony, and all of that? Is that part? Do we do anything with those guys?
I think under the charter, we're required to give the symphony $15,000 a year.
Okay. Well, I would ask, and I'm not a member of the committee and all, and just like my colleague here, Mr. Claiborne, I do think some funds needs to go down to the fairgrounds. I mean, it's high time for something for that to happen, because I mean we've got a property that's set there. It's over 107 years old. It's never asked for anything out of this county, nothing except to be there and run for people to come down and enjoy it. I mean, I think last year was the first time it ever asked for a subsidy. Asked for $200,000. It didn't really get it, but it asked, correct?
And we made it.
And you did
We
make
made
it, and you made it. There is some issues with building down there that really the straight winds blew, and why that was not fixed is beyond me. I mean, if you have something to fall in like that and you need that space, I mean, that's rentable space. And I believe we need that space repaired so that we can rent it out and have that revenue coming in. I would just ask, Rich, I'd ask you and you guys to really take a look at this, and even if we could give them an extra $200,000 to do with, I think it will be smart taxpayer money. I don't believe that taxpayers would want to go every year with a subsidy for the fairgrounds. I believe that has, but I think to help them get a jump start and to get something going down through there, because we are going to have to look at the fairgrounds property. And we're really going to have to take a real hard look at it and see what is the best way to make that, viable again. Because it is, I think it's one of the most important, most valuable pieces of property that Davidson County has right now, being where it's located. And everybody's got their ideas. I understand that, but let's help this property out that's helped this city for so long. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Tenpenny. Councilman Pridemore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Councilman Dozier, and the board. Having attended your board, the Fair Board meetings for the past 6-7 months, I want to commend you all for what you're going through. There's several contentious issues there that seem not to be going away when we would thought they would have been several months ago. And on that, on your briefing that you provided to us, you mentioned that the Tennessee State Fair is no longer put on by Metro government, that it's put on by the Tennessee State Fair Association. And then also that it says there is no commitment to have the fair with Tennessee State Fair Association beyond 2013. What does that mean exactly? I guess I might want maybe address that to Commissioner Clemens or whoever might be more apt to answer, qualified for that.
Let me begin. There's no contract past that time. It's been a yearly contract. They have asked for a multi-year contract, but we have resisted that a little bit right now for more reasons than we probably can discuss at this time in here. The contract still has not been signed yet with the Tennessee Fair Association. We'll see what happens next Tuesday when the board meets again to see if that contract has been. There are some points in there they don't like, some points we didn't like at that time, and so that has been part of the delay at that time.
Well, that's typical contract negotiations,
Correct.
I would assume. So there is a considerable amount of revenue that we generate from the fair. Is that correct?
Yes.
Each year. And one of the negotiations of that in the contract is to increase, we are attempting to increase the revenue from the state fair, from this fair association, correct?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Well, that's my point being, I want to make sure that we are attempting to show that we are attempting to generate more revenue, not necessarily just because of through weather and attendance, but also through concessions made by them or by us, whatever we feel. I know it's a difficult task trying to get both sides to concede to another for one to obtain more revenue than the other, but it could be a win-win situation for both sides here if it's done right.
Well, we want it to be a win-win, but part of the early negotiations with this contract was we had a lot of disagreements on exactly what they were going to pay or not pay. Our problem at the problem at Tennessee Fair Association, they don't have a lot of money, they say, and we need a lot of money. So then that puts us a little bit at odds with each other, and I think that probably will continue for a while as we negotiate through those contracts.
Well, again, as appearing there and just observing all the issues that the commissioners have had to address, I applaud you for that, and I respect your tenacity there and staying with it. And I just I would hope that we, as a body, a council body, can come up and appropriate some sort of additional funds for the fairgrounds. And I want to thank you again and commend all of you for a job well done. And I've done, not saying I've enjoyed being there every month, but it's definitely been an experience. So thank you for the experience.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Pridemore. Councilman Pardue.
Thank you, sir. But is there any way you could tell me how much money has been spent on upgrades to the fairground since the actual taxpayers, the one that puts the bill for everything we do in here, told us just a few years ago to keep our hands off of the fairground? Have we spent any money at all trying to help it get back where it's supposed to be?
There's not been any subsidy from general government. It's only been our own fund our own funds that we've spent. In the last 5 years, I'd have to go back and check that. We have done some painting, we've done some fixing of doors, we've done some things within a very small budget to fix those things. So one of the things that I want everyone to understand about the fairgrounds, and let me be very honest with you, in the long run, it needs some attention. A lot of other things, the farmers market got attention over the years, the auditorium got attention over the years. And this is a place that brings in a lot of people and could do more, but it needs attention. It needs some capital improvement work to be done, and I hope you will look at that in the long terms. We can give you exactly what needs to be worked on and fixed and relatively close to what the cost would be for that. So in the long term, I hope that all of you will look at that. I want to be very honest with you. It is somebody mentioned in one of the earlier meetings that they were concerned about 15-year-old pipes. We'll take the 15-year-old pipes. They'd be new to us at the fairgrounds for what's in our buildings out there. Again, it's a wonderful facility, but it is a very hard sell and getting harder all the time to retain business and get business because of the aging complex, and it needs some attention. And over the long haul, folks, I hope you will all give it a good look.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Pardue. Councilman Stanley?
Thank you, Councilman Dozier. I appreciate you and your commissioners up there and also the employees for being here and the benefits you've given to the fairgrounds have been overwhelming. I appreciate that. I will let everyone know that back in 1997, Gaylord came to Metro Council. I was on the Metro Council at that time, and they closed Opryland USA theme park. They replaced it with Opry Mills. When they closed the Opryland theme park, that was going to remove millions of dollars in tourist revenue annually from the city of Nashville, because people did not come to Metro Nashville to go to an Opry Mills mall. That has been a big failure. And I've spoken to Gaylord officials, and they said anyone that was associated with the closing of that theme park is since gone. They're no longer employed. I was going to ask you, how many acres do the fairgrounds have?
There are 117 acres. There's about 55 to 60 in floodplain, and the rest of it is usable. All of it's usable except when the water's out. When Browns Creek is in its banks, it's all usable.
I appreciate that. I know that when Opryland USA was opened in 1972, and of course it was opened by WSM at that time, they purchased 400 acres of all floodplain acreage on the west side of Briley Parkway. And then they used 110 of those acres as parking. So there was only about 290 acres. I think if we had a theme park down there on that fairground property, that would bring in a lot of money and generate tourist revenue for the city that has been completely absent from the city since the closing of Opryland USA theme park. I think that could be one of the alternatives that we're looking at right now. And I really I just feel like something like this is definitely needed because of it's centrally located in Metro Nashville. And I think it could be a big benefit for the city and also for the people that come to the city, because they can also access the stadium, the arena, the Ryman Auditorium, the downtown, anywhere in Davidson County they can go, but because it's centrally located, they could operate down there. It could be a benefit. So I just would like to see the administration, the mayor, really look with the council and with your commission, your board of directors, at a way to operate that fairgrounds as a theme park for Music City, USA, Nashville, Tennessee, to generate revenue that will be definite, because Opry Mills Mall has not generated anywhere near the revenue that the Gaylord said they was going to generate when they closed Opryland USA theme park. And the city lost a lot with that, and I think they can gain with this. But I want to thank you for everything you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Stanley. Councilman Dominic.
Thank you very much, and I'm most likely the last of them since I'm the second time around, but we'll see. The Chairman Dozier, or I may have to ask Laura about this. What percentage would you estimate could be reduced in the annual cost for operating the fairgrounds if we had upgrades in HVAC systems and other systems there?
Let me take a shot at that, because we've looked at that. Our buildings are again old and not cost efficient. The lighting, the electrical elements that we have are not modern. We also have enormous amount of doors, as you know, that when the flea market comes in there to set up, these large doors roll up, and we've got 35 or 40 of them that are up, heat, air is going out, and so forth. I would say that, and I've had some people look at that. They were trying to sell me something. In their estimate, we could say 35%. Now, whether that's, I've never put it true. I had NES or anybody else come out and look at it, but these people, again, were trying to sell light bulbs and other things to us out there, and they thought they could reduce our expenditures on electricity and so forth about 35%. Whether that's accurate or not, I'm not sure.
Okay, so even if it was half of that, say it was 15%, that would be a tremendous reduction. If we could do that, that might be something to look into. The other thing I want to check on, have the capital funds been requested to replace the aging HVAC systems?
$1,095,000, I believe.
Have they been placed in the capital improvement budget, which we know is not a budget at all, but a wish list?
Yes.
And hopefully those are in there. The other thing I wanted to check on, the municipal auditorium indicated that they are a member of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and they receive leads from them. Has the fairgrounds considered being part of that organization as part of the way to help improve their business options?
Yes. In fact, Steve Burton, who has been out with a replaced knee, is supposed to be, now that he's back, getting a meeting with Butch and that group and working out some details for us. They could be helpful to us, yes.
I would hope so. The other thing I want to check on, the marketing that you had requested for a marketing person, have you considered option of having someone do that on a contingency or commission basis rather than hiring them as a full-time person? That way we would be actually paying for production, where if they bring in an event for $10,000, they get $1,000, for example. It might be worth that.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because the answer to it is yes. And in fact, when I first came there, I asked that question, was told they could not work on commission. I've asked Susan Jones in our legal department to clarify that for me, whether or not that can be done.
Do you know when we might get that clarification as to when or why that might be the case? Because I know other departments have people working on a commission basis, I'm told, so.
I've been told that, but I'm not sure. I just want to get a clarification from Susan on it, and I guess she could tell me Tuesday when she comes to our board meeting.
And I too want to commend the Fair Board. I've been there for most of the meetings for a number of years, and they have had difficult situations to deal with. I've been cause of some of those, and they have earned every penny of their compensation that they do not receive. But I do want to commend them for their thoughtful process that they've gone through, especially over the last year or so, in trying to make decisions that will impact that property's long-term success. And I'll close with a simple statement. This city is committed to a number of things. We've committed to the Titans. We subsidize them with $1 million a year. That's part of a contract. We're committed to the arena. We subsidize the operators of that with a large amount of money every year. We're committed to parks. We just bought a lot of the park land in the last year or so because we're committed to it. The people have made it clear that they want this property to remain in its current uses to continue. And it's my hope that the administration, this council, will stand up and say, we're committed to this property, and say, we're going to do what's necessary to make it successful. And I'll close. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Dominic. Councilman Stanley.
I just had one other question I was wanting to ask you is the acreage that the fairground sits upon does it have a historic overlay on it? Because that is historic acreage. That is a part of this city.
It does. None of the buildings, if the old women's building hadn't burned down years ago, if you've seen the picture of that, we'd be probably having a different conversation because it would be on the historic register. I can assure you it was a gorgeous building at that time, but it is over historic overlay.
It does have a historic overlay on the property. Mm-hmm. So if anything, that just further benefits the city by having historic property that's protected. And I will say that if Metro invests in opening a theme park on that site, we will not be dependent upon the Tennessee Fairground Association. We will no longer be dependent upon them. If Metro opens up a minor fairgrounds apartment, I will say that.
Thank you, Councilman Stanley. With no other council members in queue.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
May I have 30 seconds? Because I would be totally remiss if I didn't say to all of you that our staff is only 17 people, and they are remarkable in what they do. They thought they were going to lose their job 3 different times, and they've hung in there with us. To watch only 7 people tear down events on Monday morning and turn it around in the next 2 days for other events for the coming weekend is a remarkable sight to behold. And even in our other staff members in the office, there's no redundancy there. We're all doing different things. Laura is over the flea market. You're allowed to see Ken or I directing traffic or whatever needs to be done. We all do it because to get the job done. And I'm very proud of them, and they've hung in with us. And if you ever get to see them, pat them on the back. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Dozier, and thank you all for your service to our city. And this concludes our evening. We will be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Thank you.